be afraid. Be very afraid. And welcome to Writer's Blockbuster. Cronenberg's The Fly is gross and terrifying. In an experiment gone wrong, we watch as a man undergoes a transformation of body and mind when his teleporter combines him with, you guessed it, a fly. Be warned, there are spoilers ahead, and if you enjoy great films like this, then don't forget to subscribe. We open at a science convention where we meet a scientist named Seth Brundle, as well as a journalist named Veronica. Veronica has a few interviews to conduct through the night, but Seth insists that she visits his lab to see what he's been working on.
What am I working on? I'm working on something that'll change the world.
Brundle gets carsick. He says that he's always had issues with motion sickness, which helped lead to his inventions. The lab itself is a bit cluttered, but in its center are 3 metallic booths.
I call them telepods.
He places one of Veronica's stockings into a pod, and the computer lists an analysis of its components before it disintegrates it and rematerializes it in the other pod.
I don't think I get it. What happened?
Your stocking has just been teleported.
Veronica flips on her tape recorder before continuing their conversation. When he sees the recorder, though, Brundle immediately shuts down. He says that he would never have agreed to an interview and asks that Veronica not write a story about him, but she takes the recording and leaves. The next day, Veronica plays the tape for her boss, who we learn is also her ex-boyfriend, Stathis. He doesn't believe a word of the interview and thinks it was all just a con by Brundle. The receptionist phones in that Brundle has arrived at the editorial, and Stathis invites him in.
I've come here to say one magic word to you. Cheeseburger.
While eating, Brundle offers Veronica a deal. He wants to talk about what he's inventing, but it's too soon for the information to surface. He hasn't locked down the ability to teleport living matter, but he feels he's close to the solution. He offers Veronica an exclusive right to publish his work as a book, asking her to work beside him while he perfects teleportation, and only asking that she keep it under wraps until he's ready. Veronica gets home to find Stathis in her shower. He still has a key to her place, and after he gets dressed, he makes it clear that he thinks Brundle is full of nonsense and that she's wasting her time with him. She dismisses him quickly after that and asks for the key back. Sometime later, Veronica watches as Brundle tries to teleport a baboon, but when it arrives in the second pod, it's clear that he still hasn't perfected the way to teleport living matter.
Why didn't it work?
I think it turned the baboon inside out.
Brundle is down in the dumps, but Veronica tries to cheer him up by offering to cook him some steak, but he's not hungry. She then says that he's very cute, and she leans down, and they begin to smooch. After a romp on the pull-out couch, Veronica is still being all cute and says that she wants to just eat Brundle all up, and that gives Brundle an idea.
Want to try an experiment?
He cuts up the steaks and teleports one half. When she tastes the steaks, Veronica says that the teleported one tastes weird and synthetic. Brundle smiles, saying that the computer he's been using hasn't been taught the finesse that flesh seems to have, and it's just producing what it interprets flesh to be. He sits and begins programming, hopeful to be on the right track to perfecting his invention. When Veronica leaves, we see that Stathis was posted outside, and it seems that he's been there all night. He follows her to the store and confronts her.
You stayed with Brundle all night.
I'll spend the night anywhere I damn well please.
A bit later, Brundle tries teleporting the baboon again, only this time it works, and the baboon exits alive and well. He sends it out for testing to make sure that it's actually completely fine, and since those tests will take a few weeks, Veronica suggests that they go on a romantic vacation. Brundle agrees, and while he's on the phone making plans, Veronica opens a package that was left from Stathis. Inside, she finds a magazine cover that would unveil Brundle's work, and Veronica leaves to go confront Stathis, telling Brundle that she has some personal issues from the past that needs to be set right. Stathis immediately comes off as a jerk, but after a minute, he agrees not to publish the article on Brundle. He says that he just doesn't want to lose Veronica from his life, and that he wants to stay friends. Brundle paces back in his lab and gets progressively more drunk. He's worried and he rants about what Veronica could have meant, and he's paranoid that she might be doing something with Stathis. He can't handle it anymore and decides that to get his mind off of Veronica, he'll go through the telepod on his own. He undresses and crouches inside, but we see that a fly has entered the pod with him. He teleports, and when he emerges, Brundle seems completely fine.
You tell me. Am I different somehow?
You're ugly, you're disgusting, I'm gonna kill you, give me $200.
Veronica gets back a bit later, and Brundle tells her that he went through the pods. Before she can get upset, Brundle asks if she's sleeping with Stathis, but Veronica says that he's nothing to her but an ex, and he belongs only in the past.
Is he still in love with you?
How could he not be?
They make up and make out, but as we pan down, we see dark hairs growing from a scratch on Brundle's back. A few oddities then begin to happen to Brundle. He catches a fly from midair as his reflexes have enhanced. He also shows off his improved strength in the greatest way possible. He comes up with the theory that teleporting has somehow cleansed all of his imperfections, but Veronica has noticed that he's become incredibly hyper and obsessed with sugar. While in the throes of passion, Veronica also notices the coarse hairs growing from Brundle's back, and his complexion seems to be deteriorating as red splotches appear all over his face.
I'm looking forward to a hairy body.
She snips the hairs, but Brundle suddenly stands up and decides that he wants her to go through the teleporter so that she can feel the same things that he's feeling. Veronica pulls away, not wanting to go through, and Brundle instantly freaks out. He says that she's too afraid for him and that he'll go find someone else to be a part of his discovery before he rushes out. Brundle enters a bar and tries to impress a woman named Tawny. He makes an agreement with two other gentlemen, saying that if he can beat them in arm wrestling, that he'll get to take Tawny home. While arm wrestling, Brundle snaps the other man's arm before he grabs Tawny and leaves. He takes the woman home, and they do it all night, after Brundle teleports himself a few more times, of course. The next morning, Brundle says that his skin is hurting. Without explanation, he grabs Tawny and says that it's her turn to go through the telepod, but she tries to resist because she's afraid.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Veronica scares Tawny off and confronts Brundle. She says that he's changing and not for the better. She says that she took the hairs from his back to a lab and that she just got the results. The DNA from the hair wasn't human, and the analyst said that it was most likely insect DNA, but Brundle doesn't take the news well.
Look at me. Does this look sick? Does this look like a sick man to you? Look at me. Does this look sick? Does this look like a sick man to you?
He kicks her out, not wanting to understand the truth of his situation. Brundle then examines himself in the mirror, and he begins to bite his nail. However, the entire nail comes off and a white liquid shoots from the small opening underneath the nail bed. He notices the fluid in each of his nail beds and begins to pry his nails off one by one.
What's happening to me? Am I dying?
He goes to the computer and asks for the analysis of his first teleportation. Oddly enough, he sees that there are two subjects listed in the sequence, and he discovers that he was in the pod with a fly. He asks the computer what happened to the fly when they teleported, and it reports that it was unsure of what exactly to do, so it surmised that the best choice was to splice the two subjects together on a genetic level. Quite a bit later, Veronica receives a phone call from Brundle saying that he's been too afraid to see her, but now he's afraid he may not have much time left. Veronica goes to the lab and we see that Brundle has deteriorated significantly.
I know an old lady who swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die.
He tells her what happened, and he even says that he's not completely Brundle anymore, but he's something else entirely. He scratches his ear, and it falls off, and he cries and begs for help. Not knowing what to do, Veronica goes to Stathis. He warns her against returning to see Brundle, saying that what he has may be contagious and not understanding the full scope of the situation. When she's adamant about helping, Stathis says that he'll need to see Brundle to come up with a plan. Veronica then goes back, but she freaks out when she sees Brundle climbing on the ceiling and walls. He hops down and tells her that what he has is definitely not contagious, and there is a course that his condition is taking. It seems that he's morphing, and that there must be an end result to the metamorphosis.
I'm becoming Brundlefly.
He almost seems excited about the prospect and tells Veronica to record him as he goes over the stages of his transformation. Stathis then watches the recording of Brundlefly in disbelief. While he's watching, Veronica storms in, sobbing. Stathis asks her what's wrong, and she gives him some terrifying news.
I'm pregnant.
The next day, Seth and Veronica go to the hospital to abort the baby, and the doctor is none other than Cronenberg himself. When the doctor removes the baby, Veronica screams as she sees a wriggling larva instead of a child. She then jolts awake, so don't worry, that was all a dream. But she really is pregnant. She only wishes that part was a dream. Brundlefly begins running tests on how he can become less fly and more Brundle, and the computer offers splicing himself with pure human subjects to offset the amount of fly in his genetic sequence. While he's thinking, all of his teeth fall out.
My teeth have begun to fall out.
Teeth are small white things in your face.
Veronica shows up.
You've missed some good moments. Is that why you're here, to catch up?
She says that she wanted to see him before it was too late, but Brundlefly tells her that she needs to leave. He says that he's becoming more like an insect each day, and he's noticed a lack of compromise and a lack of compassion within his own psyche. He says that he'll hurt her if she stays, and that brutality is just in his nature, and it's something that he can't fight.
Saying I'm an insect who dreamt he was a man and loved it. But now the dream is over, and the insect is awake.
Veronica rushes out where Stathis is waiting. She says that she needs to get the procedure done now because she can't have any part of Brundle in her body any longer. From the rooftop, Brundlefly is listening, and we see him slink off after the car leaves. At the hospital, Veronica is asked some questions by the doctor, who we last saw in Videodrome, but ultimately she pushes to have the procedure done. She's told to undress and put on the hospital gown, but while she's alone, Brundlefly smashes through her window. He picks her up and jumps away from the hospital.
The baby might be all that's left of the real me. Please don't kill me.
He begs her to have the baby, and when she says no, he says, too bad. We then see Stathis enter Brundle's lab. He assembles a shotgun and stares at the telepods. Brundlefly jumps from the ceiling and knocks the gun out of his hand before vomiting stomach acid onto Stathis' hand and melting it into enzyme goop. When Stathis tries to get the gun, Brundlefly melts the poor man's ankle as well. When he goes for the throat, Veronica shouts from the rooftop, begging him to stop. Brundlefly goes up to her.
Help me. Help me to be human.
How?
He tells her that he'll enter one pod while she enters another, so that they can both splice together as one being.
You, me, and the baby. Together.
As he drags her towards the pod, Veronica rips off Brundlefly's jaw. His skin then begins to slough off and fracture as his metamorphosis enters a new stage. Veronica is then locked into a pod by the new and improved Brundlefly. Brundlefly enters the underpod. What, the underpod? I don't know, man. Brundlefly enters the other pod and the countdown begins, but Stathis raises his gun and shoots Veronica's pod. Brundlefly smashes through his own pod and takes a step out just as the countdown finishes. He's teleported away. Stathis unlocks Veronica's pod and they both stare as steam emerges from the splicing pod and a mixture of telepod and Brundlefly falls out. It crawls towards the duo, giving us a good look at its warped body. It takes the shotgun barrel and places it against its own head. Veronica sobs, but she pulls the trigger. She then falls to her knees and stares at the thing that used to be Seth Brundle. And that is where this movie ends. I love this movie, and I was really fascinated by a few different aspects as I watched through it. One of the most prominent things, I think, for everyone in this film are the special effects. Cronenberg is known for his practical effect work and his bizarre, graphical choices, and The Fly is no exception to this style. It's gross and it's realistic, and it perfectly conveys how terrible the splicing sequence really is. It looked painful multiple times and disturbing and, gross from a primal level. But I will say that I loved the transformation of Brundle's mind even more than his body. Watching him go from scientist to horny sugar addict to monster was awesome and perfectly subtle. As the Fly's mind merged with Brundle, he had an initial fear and a longing to remain human even. But as he became Brundlefly, his fear turned into indifference and then into a maniacal contentment. Seeing his transformation come to fruition was awesome. It was incredible, and his rant on insect politics is so bizarre and random and interesting. Seriously, I think I've rewatched it 20 times at this point. I just keep watching his little rant, his little monologue, because it's, I don't know, it's really cool. I don't know why. It just draws me in so much. I don't know why. I guess I just love it. I guess that's the answer. I just love it, so I keep watching it over and over. Yeah, I don't know, man. If you enjoyed this breakdown, then don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you've got a movie that you want me to watch, then let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, as the flies say, bzzz. Bye-bye.
Bart, are you in there? Have you forgotten our little kablamo talk?